everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, I'm gonna be trying something new today. We'll see how it goes. That'll be my first attempt. I'm gonna be doing a Dahlia, basically a fluid art impressionism piece that looks like a Dahlia. And I saw this, it was Camile Amoy art. And I will put the link to her channel in the description box. Definitely go check her out. The colors that I have here, so these are all custom blended. I have Bordeaux red from Arteza, deep magenta from Loft, and brilliant purple in the Liquitex Basics. But to each of these colors, all of these colors have been added to each other. So in the Bordeaux red, there is a bit of the magenta and a bit of the blue. The magenta has a bit of the, did I say blue? I meant to say the purple. So the magenta has a bit of the purple in it, and then the purple has a bit of the magenta and a tiny bit of the Bordeaux. The reason that I do that is it makes the colors a bit more homogeneous. So they're not really jumping out at you on the canvas as like, that's just not quite the right color. If you just add a tiny bit, and when I say a tiny bit, like a drop of that color paint as you're mixing it, you will see it will change the whole hue. So if I can show you. It's subtle, but this color compared to this color, it's slightly different, but it really does make a difference when they're all together. Like this Bordeaux red and that purple aren't necessarily perfect for each other. But if you add the magenta to both, suddenly they work together. That's just a little color tip, something that I do when I have a color that's almost right but not quite. Just add one of the other colors to it to make it more homogeneous. These paints have been mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol, and the consistency is pretty thick. It's about a 3 on my consistency scale. It's leaving a trace. If you remember my rules for consistency, I go thin for cells and thicker for stability. I'm not going for cells. I want stability. I want those petals to stay where I put them. And so I haven't even added any of my concoction, my 90% water, 10% Floetrol mixture. Didn't need it. The 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol worked. That was a good ratio, gave me the thickness that I wanted. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a second, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. Let's get you a new one. There are 42 technique cards. Each technique has an associated video here on YouTube. That's the picture of that particular YouTube video. This little box here has a tip for that particular technique. And there's a color palette here at the bottom that goes along with that particular painting. And then these 2 boxes can also be used as the basis of a 2-color palette. You can build off of that or just use the 2 colors. Sometimes those simple 2-color pours can be absolutely gorgeous. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each card has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors and mix and match the palettes with the techniques. And you have many, many thousands of combinations, probably more than one could paint in a lifetime. And you can also use the color palettes for other art forms, crochet, beadwork. Someone's using it to decorate their house. So there you go. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, And now they are also available at Amazon.com. The first thing I'm going to do here is lay down a base coat. All right, my base coat is down. I've got myself a napkin here, and I have a tiny little spoon. This is a spoon that I got with some pigments, and in the video, Camille is using she calls it a mini appetizer spoon, but I think it's like a dessert spoon. It has a longer handle, but a smaller actual spoon part. So we'll see if this works, and if it doesn't, I will have to find another kind of spoon to use. But that's what I had on hand, and I really wanted to try this when I saw it. Also, I'm going to pop this on my Lazy Susan, or as the boys from Massey Art call it, a Lazy Deborah. I don't know why Deborah. I mean, I don't know why Susan, but I've always heard Lazy Susan. This spinner has seen better days. Doesn't really spin quite so much anymore. Not in the way that, you know, you'd want it to be spinning for a bloom or something of the sort, but it should serve its purpose for this, just to make this part easier. Okay, here we go. Are you nervous? I'm a little nervous. I'm not nervous. It'll be fine. It's just paint. Since this is going to be my first one, I'm not going to like really worry about the angle of it. You know, if eventually I'll get to making them at angles so they have more of a lifelike 3D effect. This time, I'm just going to see if I can get this pedal action down. Okay, I'm switching to voiceover here because I've had to speed this up. It took about an hour to do this one. A lot of things I would do differently. So, first of all, the spoon that I was using, I think, is too small because I wound up with a lot of petals. It was a lot of petals, which kind of made it look a little busy to me. You can see here, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how to hold the spoon to get the desired effect. And it takes practice. So the first one that you make, don't expect it to be a masterpiece because it is going to take a whole lot of swipes until you figure out exactly the pressure to use, the angle to hold the spoon, and pulling it back too quickly, you lose the tip of the pedal. You want it to have that little point on it. And if you pull it back too quickly, you lose that point. So I did that quite a bit. And I wasn't totally thrilled with the purple in this mix. I think it was just too opaque. Not that opaques were bad, but in this particular case, I just don't think that it was just right for this piece. But, you know, it was a learning piece. This is literally an experiment, a practice piece, learning how to get that technique down. Another thing that I would do differently, the rings didn't need to be so close together. So I could have definitely left some more white in between those rings which would have led to fewer petals as well. And I think if you'll see later on that I use a skewer and draw it in towards the center, that really helps to also create that petal effect. There is a great deal of trial and error here. And really, you are literally just watching me practice how to make these petals. And towards the end, I start getting it down more. And again, the ring a little too close for comfort. Could have left more space there, because I did wind up just going back over the other petals. And you kind of want that. You know, you want the next layer to slightly overlap the previous layer. But you probably don't want it overlapping the previous 2 layers, which is kind of what I had going on there. So now I'm starting to do the longer petals, as you can see, which is what I kind of should have been going for to begin with. And then I start getting short again. I'll get the hang of it. And also the center of this is in the center. Not necessarily the most attractive for composition. Y'all know I try to avoid having my focal point in the exact center. But again, I was just trying to get the spoon swipe down. And I think this would actually, using a spoon, might give me some interesting effects when I'm doing my splash paintings. So I may try using the spoon when I'm doing that. Sometimes I get too much blending when I'm doing those splash paintings, and this seems to kind of keep it from doing that so much. You still wind up with some nice separation of color, which is kind of what makes those splash paintings come to life. So anyway, definitely interested in implementing a spoon as a tool in the future. Can't believe I never thought of that before. Okay, so now I'm bringing the skewer in. This is just your standard bamboo skewer. And I'm drawing lines in between the petals towards the center. And that really helps to separate the petals. Gives it a bit more of that 3D effect. Again, the lines too close. I think I started realizing right around here that I was like, man, I think I'm making more work for myself than necessary. Don't quite need this many petals. But again, we're just practicing. Thanks for watching me practice. Hopefully y'all learned something. So I found that holding the spoon at a bit of an angle, you're kind of using the, not quite the full side of it, but kind of like the middle towards the tip area. And that seemed to be the angle where I was getting the best effects. And drawing those lines in. It really started to come to life when I was bringing those lines towards the center, I could really start to see those petals taking shape. And now I'm kind of moving the line a little, oh, maybe not. Trying to give it a little more room there. And as I got towards the end here, the petals started looking more like petals. I started to get the hang of it. Having it on the Lazy Susan or Lazy Deborah really helps a lot. I would definitely not prefer to do this without one. It's a lot easier to just turn the canvas and just be very repetitive with your strokes. And the nice thing about this is the closer you get to the center, the faster it goes. And the next time I do this, I will definitely be taking some kind of angle into consideration so that it's not so straight on. And when you're making the petals, ideally, when you're doing those swipes, you're going in between the petals from the last ring, alternating. They should alternate kind of like seats at the movie theater. The person sitting in front of you isn't directly in front of you. You're kind of in between the two people in front of you. That is generally how they behave in nature. And if we're going to be quite technical about it, it wouldn't be in rings like this, it would be in a spiral. Because that's how nature grows. That Fibonacci, baby. And again, that ring was too close. Could have given myself some more space there. And what I might do in the next version is use a bigger spoon for the outer petals and then switch to this small spoon for these very, the ones that are closest to the center. Because that's how it would be in nature, right? The petals on the outside are going to be the biggest. And the ones closest to the center are going to be smaller. They haven't had the same growth pattern. That one was way too close to the next ring. It's all right. I'll make it work. It's really starting to look like a flower now. So close. We're almost there. Pulling some of that white into it really helps to give it some of that dimension. You don't have to use white. If the lightest color in your flower is a pink, then that could be your base coat color. I just love those dahlia that are kind of that magenta purple with the white. It's one of my favorites. So I thought I'd give it a try, but you can use any color as your base coat, preferably the lightest color in your flower. Hey, there's our center. And then for the very, very center, for the stamen, so to speak, I use the Decoart Americana Decor metallics in the 24 karat gold, just to give it a little center there. And I'll bring you in for a close-up. Okay, well, it's not perfect, but it was my first try. I definitely got better at the petals toward the end. It is definitely something you need to practice at to get that flick just right so that your petals have points without flinging them everywhere. But the overall idea, I dig. Didn't love that purple color so much. And I wound up with a lot more white than I was anticipating. But I'm sure that the more I do this, the better I will get at it. Just like anything else. And you can see the little center I added, just a little something something. But there it is. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I sure did. It's always fun to try something new. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. All of my affiliate links. There's Amazon and Arteza and Decoart. If you use those links, anything that you purchase off of those sites, I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And also in the description box is the link to my website, ginadeluca.net. Do check that out for my art and music and the fluid art inspiration cards. And the fluid art inspiration cards are also now available at Amazon, so you can check those out there. If I didn't mention, please do like and share and subscribe. At least like and subscribe. That really helps with the algorithms, which are brutal here on the YouTube. And last but certainly not least, do check out our Facebook group, Go Make Some Art. Join us there, post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. All right, y'all. That is it for me for today. I hope you have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.